The Houston Texans flipped the NFL world upside down as they traded for star wide receiver Stefon Diggs from the Buffalo Bills, as this trade came out of absolutely nowhere in the middle of a random Wednesday in early April. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So the trade details are the Houston Texans are getting Stefon Diggs, a 2025 5th and 6th rounder, as the Buffalo Bills will get a 2025 2nd rounder in return, and that 2nd rounder is the Vikings' 2nd rounder. So it should be a little earlier than the Houston Texans pick in the 2nd round in 2025. So this, again, kind of came out of nowhere. So let's start kind of with the Texans' viewpoint on this. Obviously, you're getting a really good receiver in Stefon Diggs, who had a down year last year, but still a very good receiver, and I think a 2nd round pick is a fair deal. I think that's a fair price to give up for one of the best receivers in the NFL, especially when you're kind of entering your Super Bowl window now. I think you were teetering on the edge, but I think after this move, you're in the door. You're in the window. You're committing. You have a few years now to try to win a Super Bowl while CJ Stroud is on his rookie deal, and you still got 4 more years of that. You get the 3 years, and then you're going to get that 5th year option. So that's really good for the Texans, and it makes sense to commit now early when CJ Stroud is playing the best in his career, even though he only had 1 year. And he's playing this level so early. Right? You know? Because sometimes you'll see rookies obviously play really good, but it might be their 2nd or 3rd year, and you have time to still commit, but not as much anymore. I feel like we kind of saw that way maybe with the Dolphins, and I think CJ Stroud will definitely turn out to be better than Tua, but we kind of saw that there. The Cincinnati Bengals, that was the 2nd year of Joe Burrow, even though they didn't really have to commit too much because they already had their players on the team who were still on their rookie deals. But just in general, the Houston Texans have built around CJ Stroud perfectly. You have great weapons, right? You already had Nico Collins, you had Tank Dell, you bring in Joe Mixon, you give him a contract, and obviously now you go ahead and get Stefon Diggs, and all of a sudden for Joe Mixon, those boxes are going to look a lot better. They're not going to have so many people inside of them because they're going to have weapons that you're going to have to respect on the outside. And I'm not saying they necessarily didn't with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, but now Stefon Diggs, that's a game changer right there. And that's huge for the the Houston Texans. That's absolutely huge. And, I mean, they've built a great offensive line. They traded for Shaq Mason last offseason. They have Laramie Tunsil. They've drafted some good players, and I really like what they did at the offensive line. Defense. Obviously, now you have D'Amico Ryans as your head coach, who has been tremendous, and he's been able to build up this defense. You have Will Anderson, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petre, Christian Harris. So obviously now you've added Daniil Hunter, and that's a really good addition. Danico Autry on the interior, that's really good. And now you're building an even better defense than we had last year, and then you're just going to have these younger players who are just going to keep on developing. And that is huge for the Houston Texans, and really good, and that ultimately puts them in the window to go win a Super Bowl. It puts them in to be contenders, and I think just like that, they may be the scariest team or the most dangerous team to knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. It's either them or the Baltimore Ravens, in my opinion. And I feel like the Texans are really building something here. I love what the Ravens are doing, but they did lose some players. Their running game should be better, I would assume, with Derrick Henry. But I mean, that receiving core, how's that gonna look next year, and stuff like that. But I'm really liking what the Houston Texans are doing, and I think everybody should. And they, I think, have built this team the correct way, I guess. It is maybe for lack of better words. And I think they're reaping the benefits of that. And so now let's go ahead and talk about the Bills kind of viewpoint. And I think they're entering a retooling period. I don't see them contending for a Super Bowl this year. I don't. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they still have a chance to win the division, but I don't know if it's a Super Bowl window right now. They were kind of leaving it this year, and now I think they're officially kind of gone. I think they're kind of gone with that. Obviously trading Stefon Diggs, and you lose a bunch of key players over the last few years. Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, and you lose a bunch of other players too. Von Miller obviously hasn't worked out for the Bills, and it's kind of right there to see that this team isn't really hasn't been competing, even though they put so much money into this team, and now lots of those key players, veteran players, are gone. And so I think they're ultimately trying to contend for a Super Bowl in the next few years while you still have Josh Allen. And maybe because they have Josh Allen, that's, maybe the window isn't closed. Maybe we'll never close with Josh Allen, as he's probably a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. But also I think this kind of shows that maybe the Bills are fine with a middle tier wide receiver group, kind of like the Chiefs. And now I'm not saying as bad as the Chiefs last year, and I'm not saying if they went as bad as the Chiefs last year, they would win the Super Bowl, because the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and a really good defense. But say they stay put with like Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir takes the next step. They draft a rookie wide receiver, either that be Keon Coleman, A.D. Mitchell, if Brian Thomas falls, or any of these other guys, like Xavier Worthy, who I think would be kind of a reach in the first round. But that's kind of how I feel about that. But again, that's what that's going to consist of. The receiving group. It's going to be a rookie, a first round rookie. It's going to be Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, and their 2 tight ends, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, who I think Dalton Kincaid obviously has very good potential. I think he can be one of the best tight ends in the NFL in a few years. So maybe they're, again, trying to copy the Chiefs' image, and maybe their best receiver is going to be their tight end in a few years, which is not a bad thing to do, especially if you have a guy like Travis Kelce. And I'm not saying Dalton Kincaid's going to turn into Travis Kelce, but I think it's very fair to be able to have a receiver or a tight end who isn't, can also play receiver and be that number 1 guy. I think it's very well possible to win a Super Bowl like that. So that's kind of where I see it with the Bills. They kind of understand that, hey, we're in a very unfortunate situation, and we kind of just need to start the retooling period, get what we can, and Stefon Diggs probably wasn't going to help the team too much, even though the receiving core is a lot better with Stefon Diggs. Man, I think the Houston Texans are making a great move. If I had to pick a winner of the trade, I would go with the Houston Texans, but for the most part, the Houston Texans are Super Bowl contenders. They're entering their Super Bowl window now, and that is good. That's amazing for the Texans, especially year 2 of a quarterback in his rookie year, or his rookie deal. And then the Bills are ultimately retooling, trying to win a Super Bowl in the future. So that's my thoughts there. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out.